All right, hello, boys and girls. We're going to get started on our reading interactive notebook. We're going to do a PowerPoint slideshow today and take some notes. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that PowerPoint. Okay, so it says good readers can ask and answer questions about the text. When answering questions, they race. Now, it's not the same kind of race you might be thinking. Let's see if it's good. Okay, here's what I mean. Race stands for R, restate part of the question. So like when we say, what kind of milk did Jeffrey pick for his breakfast? And then you change it to Jeffrey picked chocolate milk for his drink for breakfast. So you restate part of the question back into the answer. A stands for answer all parts. So if it asks you, did someone do something? How do you know? C stands for cite evidence from the text. So you're going to say, how did you know that it was a noisy restaurant? Because we heard the laughing and the talking and the singing happy birthday and the pots and pans clattering. So there's all the evidence from the text. E, explain your evidence. And you're going to explain how that answers the question. So let's go through it a little bit slower, piece by piece. Restate. Restate says, when answering a question, start by restating part of the question. I should know what the question was just by reading the answer. If you remember from yesterday, I was saying that if we read the answer, we should understand that we know what part of the question was when we're reading the answer. So for example, what character trait best describes Tony? The character trait that best describes Tony is, so look how much of the sentence they already have done just by restating the question. You try. What is the setting of the story? So what would we say? The setting of the story is, and then you would answer. Why was Matt angry? How would we write our answer? Matt was angry because, and then you'll explain why. Where was Jill hiding? How would we say that is in our answer? Jill was hiding in the laundry room. Okay. A, answer all parts. Some questions actually include more than one part. Make sure to answer the entire question. For example, what is the problem and solution in the story? So there's two things we need to answer. The problem was that, and then you explain the problem, and the solution was, and then you explain what the solution was. So two parts of that question, you need to answer the entire question. What can you do to be certain that you have answered all parts of the question? What do you think you could do to make sure that you have answered all parts of the question? Could you go back and reread the question and make sure that you have all parts? Could you do that possibly? C stands for cite evidence from the text. This is a fancy way of saying that you need to give a reason for your answer from the text. You need to tell us what in the story gives you the reason to use that as the answer. So, what time of day did the story take place? The story took place at in the morning. Because I know this because the text said, as the sun was rising. So there's an example. So I know this because is a very good way to use the story to explain your answer. Ways to write your text evidence. All right, so some sentence starters that you could use. I know this because the text said, or according to the text, then you tell us what it said. Or the story said, and then you can tell us what it said. Can you think of any other ways we could say that? maybe you could say, I read in paragraph 3, and then give the reasons there you saw. All right, explain your evidence is E. After you give evidence from the text, you want to explain why that proves your answer is correct. Good news. We are not going to worry about explaining our evidence right now. We will practice the RAC, and we will come back to explaining later. All right? So let's practice. The doctor kept saying that the shot will not hurt. Mom keeps telling me the shot will keep me from getting sick later. I hear them, but I am still nervous. The doctor asks if I am ready. I look at Mom and she gives me a nod. I close my eyes and tell the doctor that I am as ready as I will ever be. A moment later, I hear a rapper. I open my eyes just as the doctor is putting a Band-Aid on my arm. He's already done. I didn't feel a thing. I can't believe I was so nervous over something so small. Question: did the shot hurt the author? Okay. So if we restate the question, the shot did not hurt the author because he said he closed his eyes before the shot began, and a moment later he hears the Band-Aid being put on. Okay. How do we know that? Because it says so in the story. I know this because he said he closed his eyes, and then the doctor said a doctor was putting on a Band-Aid on his arm, and he was already done. I didn't feel a thing. All right. So did we answer all of our questions? Let's go back to race. We restate part of the question. We answer all parts, and we cite evidence from the text. Okay. So we've got that done for that one. Ask your partner another question that could be answered after reading the text. So since we're not together to do that, ask your partner another question that could be answered after reading the text. Let's do this part. Why did Mom think it was important for him to get a shot? You could do that question maybe. Or how do you know the author was surprised in the end? I know this because he said, I can't believe I was so nervous over something so small. All right, let's try another. I happily jumped in the puddle and watched as the rainwater sprayed up around me, getting my legs and swimsuit wet. What fun! I chased after my little brother. The two of us running made water splash even farther and higher. Playing in the rain puddles was even more fun than I had imagined. I wish we could do it more often, but it almost never rains in the desert where we live. Maybe it's extra fun because we don't get to do it often. Why doesn't the author play in rain puddles more often? Okay, we're restating the question for R. The author doesn't play in rain puddles more often because it doesn't rain very often in the desert where he lives. All right. The second part of race, answer all parts. Okay. Did we answer all parts about why the author doesn't play in the rain puddles more often? Yes, we did. Okay. Cite evidence. Says here, I wish we could do it more often, but it almost never rains in the desert where we live. Maybe it's extra fun because we don't get to do it often. You could use any of that to cite your evidence. How do you know that, let's see here. How do you know that they're playing in the rain? You can see that it's talking about, I know this because it talked about the author jumping in the puddles and watching the rainwater spray up around him. All right, let's go to the next thing. All right. Since we aren't together, I'm not going to make you guys do that part, but let's get our book out now. We're going to reteach the race strategy to our partner, but we're actually going to reteach it to ourselves. So let's go to, let me get the video or the camera up here. All right, let's go to our reading and grammar notebook, and we're going to go back into the reading section right here, back here. And yesterday we did back to school. Can you see that story? All right, we're going to turn the page and we're going to put a big R, a big A, a big C, and a big E. Okay. R-A-C-E. Okay. So what does R stand for? R stands for restate or re-say is another way of saying it. Part of the question in your answer. Let me see if I can get closer to get that glare off of there. That's a little better, right? Restate or re-say part of the question in your answer. Restate or re-say part of the question in your answer. And that's what we call a complete sentence. A complete sentence will have part of the question in your answer. All right, A stands for answer all parts of the question. Okay, just like the example they showed, what was the problem and the solution? We need to give the problem and then we need to give the solution. We need to do all parts of the question. Okay, and C stands for, and so if you need to pause, go ahead and push pause, guys. C stands for cite your evidence by including parts of the text in your answer. Okay, and then let's go back and look at what E was standing for. It said that we were going to wait on E for now, but let's just go back and look at it to see what did it stand for. All the way back here in the beginning. Explain your evidence. Okay, we're not covering explain your evidence yet, but we're going to write that in our notebook, okay? Explain your evidence. Okay. So you may have to explain why you picked this evidence to answer the question. Okay. Okay, so for today, that's all we're going to do. At the top, if you could give it a title, we're going to put Ask and Answer questions. This is a reading strategy. Okay. And then using race will help us remember to restate part of the question in your answer all parts of the question, cite your evidence that you found in the text, and explain your evidence after you find it. All right. Okay, that's all we're going to do for today in our Reading Interactive Notebook. So make sure you have this all written down, because tomorrow we're going to be doing a different activity, and you'll need to have these answers in your book. All right, so go ahead and pause right now. I'm going to take us back to say goodbye, but I want you to make sure you pause right now so that I don't take it away. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so you have all of that written down. If you need to, go back in this, just move the sliding bar back so that you can go back and finish it up if you didn't get it frozen in time or paused in time. But that's all we're going to do in our Reading Interactive Notebook. And so now you can choose to either do your read aloud, or you can do your math lesson and then come back for the read aloud. But it's up to you which one you choose. Don't forget that you need to be continuing to work on spelling. We do only have 2 more days of school this week after today, so we want to make sure that we've got our spelling under control. We're practicing our words and we've done our activities, okay? All right. Oop, I lost you. All right, I will see you over in our read aloud.